Hi, I'm Kat Kalashian, and this week we're looking at the world's top most incredible nude beaches revealed or exposed, plus one that you would never have seen coming. So, in honor of our newly launched event, the first ever beachfront living event by Live and Invest Overseas, I'm leaning into the theme a little bit, having a little fun with it. So, this week I decided to bring you some of the most incredible beach destinations in the world, which also happen to have our very relaxed cultural attitude towards going au naturel, reducing tan lines, letting it all hang out, however you prefer to say it. But each of these are all fantastic destinations for a new life by the beach, whether you stay covered up or bear it all. With that in mind, I'll make a specific suggestion for breezy air drying in the buff for each of the following beachy hotspots: France, Brazil, Greece, Uruguay, Spain, Mexico, Portugal, Croatia, the Caribbean, and Italy. And one that will definitely surprise you if you've ever even heard of it. You may not have. So, first, let's take a quick look at the culture behind going commando. The idea of nudism, of course, is as old as Adam and Eve, but the official naturist community dates back to around the turn of the 20th century. It promotes an easygoing, free spirited mentality. Movements against body shaming and towards acceptance of all have really been catching on worldwide for years now. And all of these principles have been a part of the nudist community for decades already. And it seems like a nice synergistic coming together of two communities right now: the nudist community or the naturalist community, plus the community that is anti-body shaming. Because basically, the naturist community is all about loving your body and feeling comfortable in your own skin. Some people think nude beaches and think swingers, but in fact, that's quite the opposite. These beaches are usually very tightly regulated. Lewd acts are frowned upon. There are usually a very specific set of rules in place, a very specific diameter for the space where you can be nude or not nude. And there's a big difference between nudism or a nudist and exhibitionists, also known as flashers. The two are not to be lumped together. They have very, very different goals. Nudists are their own community with a code and a set of values. And if you're new to nudist beaches, there are a few helpful hints that you can keep in mind to make your visit a more comfortable one. So, first, bring a towel. It's good for drying off, obviously, preventing sand getting into little places, nooks and crannies, but also for covering beach chairs, which may have been previously used, and that person may or may not have had a towel, or to use as an emergency cover should the need arise for whatever reason. These are not places to do lots of sports activities, and not a yoga destination, for example. It's not a good look to be stretching and bending over in these kinds of locations. And it's kind of an unspoken rule. These places are places for relaxation. They are not places to try and shimmy and shake. No photos. In fact, many of these beaches ban phones or cameras altogether, but have some discretion, even if it's not an official rule. Respect your fellow beachgoers. You wouldn't want somebody pulling out a camera next to you if you're lying in the nude. So, respect those around you. Along that same line, respect personal space. So most people at the beach, unless you're at a really, really crowded beach and there's little room, you like at least a few feet of space between you and the next person who's sunbathing next to you. But this is even more strongly advocated amongst nudists. So I would say leave at least a meter or two between people. And honestly, most of these beaches, they're not the crowded kind of beaches that you're seeing, in Florida with towels lined up next to each other. And it's quite easy to find your own space. And I would say several meters of space in between each sunbather is par for the course. Bring plenty of sunblock. This is absolutely vital. Sunblock is important and life-saving in the best of scenarios and the most covered up of scenarios. But when you go and take off a few extra layers, those bits that never see the sun are going to really suffer the next day if you haven't adequately protected them. Don't stare. It's rude. It's rude in a normal situation, but on a nude beach, borders into creepy very quickly. If you're a guy and you find yourself having a little moment, getting a little bit excited, just cover it up. You know, we're all humans. It happens to everybody, but don't flaunt it. All right, now that you're equipped to avoid the faux pas, let's uncover some of the best countries for a trip to the coast. Bonus, many of these countries have year-round beach weather, which means that there's no bad time to hit the water. And these are all excellent choices for a new life overseas, whether you are an expat, a digital nomad, or even raising a family. Just because this video happens to highlight nude beaches does not mean that these are unfriendly destinations for the young. So, for example, I live in country number 1, France. I've had 2 daughters here. I absolutely love the culture in terms of modesty and not being ashamed of one's body. It's very ingrained into French culture, and it is considered to be the spiritual home of nude beaches. 1903 was the year that the first naturist community was founded in France, and in 1948, the Fédération Française de Naturisme was born. So this is the Federal French Association of Naturism. So not surprising that this concept, it caught on pretty quickly here in France. Going topless is very commonplace on most beaches, even, you know, the most family-friendly beaches. Women take off their tops, women of all ages, and nudity is treated quite casually in the culture in general. So, you know, you go to the gym, people are never covering up with a towel when they're changing in the locker room. And this is just the normal cultural reaction to nudity in the body. Unsurprisingly, here in France, most of the nude beaches are located in the south along the Mediterranean, where the weather and the beaches are always at their best. On average, in this region, the coldest it'll really get is about 50 degrees Fahrenheit, which is, you know, it's a little bit chilly, but that's the depths of winter. That's the January, February. The most popular beach along this coast for the naturism community is Cap d'Agde, and it is world famous, globally has made headlines. It's often called the world's most famous nude beach. It's near Montpellier, where we happen to be having a Live and Invest in France conference in September this year of 2026. Not to say that anybody needs to go and try on their naturism for size, but Montpellier is a fantastic place to settle, whether you're a student, a retiree, or a family. And then it has this extra little cultural side bit, which is the naturism community. This area, Cap d'Agde, it attracts thousands of visitors in the peak season, and it is a full naturist resort town, to the likes of which are quite rare around the world. So hotels, restaurants, shops, even banks where clothing is optional. So coming here, you could be walking down the street and see a group of naked people coming down the street towards you. Further down the coast is one of the most famous nude beaches in the world, Saint-Tropez. It was made famous by the inimitable Brigitte Bardot. And it generally attracts the same crowd as her generation. So a little bit older these days, you might possibly spot the next Brigitte Bardot here, but you're more likely to see one of her contemporaries. All right, country number 2. Uruguay is one of South America's most progressive countries, so it's no surprise that naturism is openly accepted here. The country's best known clothing optional beach is Playa Chihuahua, near the resort city of Punta del Este. The atmosphere is very relaxed, welcoming. It's a mix of locals, international travelers, and longtime lifestyle naturists. The surrounding sand dunes and forests provide lots of natural privacy, so this feels like a very intimate kind of society, and it helps create a comfortable environment for newcomers as well. Uruguayans tend to have a very live and let live attitude, but the same rules apply here as everywhere else. Respect personal space, avoid staring, and definitely keep the camera in your bag. One practical tip for this one in particular is to bring everything that you think you might need for the day, because some of the best naturist areas here are a little bit removed from the main tourist zones, so they won't have as many amenities. Country number 3 is Spain, one of my favorites. The first nude beach in Spain opened in 1975, and there are now over 400 naturist beaches across the country. Not surprising, considering there's a huge amount of coastline in Spain. Many of them are located in the Canary Islands, so they're not actually on mainland Europe. There's a very strong online community that provides up-to-date information on all the nude beaches and what to expect at each of them in Spain. Tenerife has 2 of Spain's premier beaches, Playa de Tejita and Playa de la Pelada. Playa de la Tejita is located at the foot of a mountain and has a very bohemian vibe. Playa de la Pelada is tucked away behind some rocks, so you can be sure of plenty of privacy when you'd like your all-over tan. And staying in the Canary Islands, Playa de Maspalomas in Gran Canaria, in the Gran Canaries, is the most popular of the island's many nude beaches. The sand dunes here make it seem like a little mini desert, which is this nude beach's selling point among locals or among the community. Bring shoes with you because walking across the sand dunes can get blisteringly hot. So although clothing is optional, I would say shoes are required. Another island location that's naturist friendly is the Balearic Islands. This is possibly the most nudist friendly destination in the world. Formentera's relaxed attitude towards nude sunbathing on any beach is a good place to start the conversation. So one of its best known beaches is Ses Iletes, which sits on a lagoon near the town of San Francesc. Pickpockets are known to be quite active in the Balearic Islands, and so, that's something to contend with. However, if you've got no pockets, you've got nothing to pick. So maybe this is a little tip for how to avoid pickpockets. They pose no threat to nudists. All right, number 4 is Greece, which is a popular destination for nudists, but the Greeks themselves are somewhat conservative. So there is a little bit of a dynamic at play here. So most of the nudists that you'll see on the beaches are tourists or travelers. A lot has changed since all those naked ancient statues. Luckily, Greece has plenty of beaches with unofficial nudist status that you can visit and take off your top if you'd like to. But you will have to share these beaches with textiles, which is apparently, I'm learning a lot for this video. This is the word that nudists use for the clothes-wearing community. Fortunately, the rocky landscape provides many sheltered coves. With some exploration, you can usually find a little sheltered spot all to yourself to relax and, just take it all in. Most tourists stay close to their hotels or rented accommodation, but if you trek a little bit further, it gives you an opportunity to get a beach all to yourself. You have to do a little bit more work and maybe bring your supplies with you. These remote locations, they don't come with sun loungers, umbrellas, or somewhere to buy drinks or snacks, so be sure to come prepared. Elia Beach in Mykonos is an LGBT plus very friendly nudist beach with a variety of facilities. You can even use the sun loungers nude and have food delivered nude. So that's as accepting as it gets, I think. And Red Beach on Crete is also accessible by a short hike, and it's very famous for its reddish sand and carved rock sculptures, as well as its little nudist beach. Number 5 is Portugal, which has surprisingly few official nudist beaches, but the country has a very relaxed attitude towards nudism, and it's accepted to go without clothes on plenty of beaches. In fact, over 50 beaches are welcoming to nudists, even though they don't have any official nudist-friendly status. And this is another country that stays pretty warm even in winter all across, with temperatures rarely getting below the 50s. So the Algarve in particular has a great reputation. It's home to a number of blue flag beaches, which indicate great amenities and environmental awareness and accessibility, as well as cleanliness. So it's not surprising that the Algarve is home to some of the best nudist beaches in the country. Praia de Faro is the beach of the Algarve's capital city, Faro, and this beach spans for several miles, and tucked away at the very, very, very far end, all the way from the tourists, is the nudist beach. This is called Praia do Homem Nu, and it's one of the few official nude beaches in the Algarve. The name translates to Beach of the Naked Man, so there's no confusion about what to expect here. The beach is located in Tavira, and it's an easy trip from a nearby tourist village. It is a blue flag beach with white sands and clean, although slightly bracing waters. It's got a long stretch of golden sand in the Algarve, and because it's slightly remote, it tends to attract a very respectful and traditional naturist crowd. All right, so before I go on to the rest of the list, there's still 6 destinations to uncover. I want to make the point that these countries offer some of the world's best beaches, whether or not you're enjoying them in the buff. Very important point. You don't need to be in the buff to enjoy these countries or its beaches. From Portugal to the Caribbean, from Greece to Brazil, these are not just beaches to visit. These are beaches that you could call home. They each offer unique opportunities to own your own dream home on the beach, and they are ripe for appreciation as well as potential rental opportunities. And we've scouted out exclusive real estate opportunities in nearly all of them. So you can make life on the beach a reality, not just a vacation, and make smart investments at the same time, maybe even some extra profit while you do. Join us in Panama for our first ever beachfront living event this July for a 3-day conference designed to help you turn your coastal fantasy into reality, whatever that looks like for you. See how beachfront real estate can work for your lifestyle and your wallet. Don't just visit paradise, own it, and learn more at the link on that screen. All right, coming to number 6, Brazil. So, home of the thong bikini and topless carnival dancers and very risque floats, it's little surprise that Brazil has a small but very well organized naturist community. The official nude beaches in this country are a little bit more limited and carefully regulated, which means if you do visit one, you can expect clear rules and a very respectful atmosphere. And the most famous is Praia do Pino, which is often considered the birthplace of organized naturism in Brazil. Unlike in some countries where clothing is optional, some Brazilian nude beaches actually require full participation so that nobody ever feels left out. If you're visiting, you will be expected to embrace the naturist lifestyle completely, and that means leaving your clothes at the door or the gatepost, as the case may be. Brazil's beach culture is famously relaxed, but modesty rules do still apply, especially away from designated areas. So if you plan to enjoy the sunshine in your birthday suit, make sure you're on an officially recognized beach, or else being very respectful and modest. And of course, remember the basics. Sunscreen is essential in Brazil's powerful sun, especially in the places that rarely see daylight. Number 7, St. Martin, Caribbean. So the Caribbean islands are known for their kind of very freewheeling vibes. And it is said that St. Martin is one of the most liberal, the most wild islands in the Caribbean. So the most wild of the most wild. It has a bit of a reputation. And when it comes to nude beaches in the Caribbean, Orient Bay in St. Martin is one of the most famous. It's located on the French side of the island, and the beach has long been associated with the legendary Club Orient Naturist Resort. And the French influence means that attitudes towards nudity are generally pretty relaxed here no matter what. Plus, the sand is powdery white and the water is calm and turquoise. And unlike many nude beaches, you'll find plenty of restaurants, beach bars, and other amenities where the clothing remains optional. That said, there is still a clear line between naturism and nightlife. So, there is a point during the day at which these two things diverge, and respectful behavior is encouraged, especially after hours in the dark at nightclubs, and photography is strongly discouraged. And remember, just like in Brazil, the Caribbean sun is no joke. If you're enjoying the beach without your usual layers of protection, then the sunscreen in your bag will become your best friend. Number 8. This one might be a little bit more surprising to some folks. It's Croatia, which came to fame mostly during Game of Thrones because it was used as the location for so many of their sets. And Croatia generally as a country has only recently come to mainstream awareness for its beaches in general, but naturists have been coming here for decades. And I will say the one thing about a Croatian beach is they're not sandy. They're pretty rocky. So make sure you bring a yoga mat with you if you're coming here to lay out in the sun. Croatia is actually one of the oldest naturist destinations in Europe. It's much more than nude beaches, though. There's also official naturist campsites, hotels, even resorts here in Croatia. Nudist cruises even operate out of numerous marinas, which take nudists to the hard-to-reach beaches. Look out for signs that say FKK, which are posted at all nude beaches in Croatia. That is the abbreviation for the local naturism community and organization. So if you see FKK, you know that you're good to drop trowel. Lots of beaches, as I said, are very pebbled and rocky. So you don't have to worry about sand getting into those hard to reach places. But on the other hand, you might have some trouble getting comfortable if you don't have some sand. So again, bring your yoga mat, bring some kind of nice, comfy under cushioning. So the culture in Croatia is pretty relaxed about nudism generally. So even if you're not at an FKK approved beach, it's unlikely that anybody would have a problem with anybody going topless or even nude. But again, always be respectful. Many bathe topless here in Croatia, and there are many unofficial nudist beaches along the quieter areas of the coast. All right, let's see if I can pronounce this even remotely correctly. Bun Kuluka Beach is found on the island of Krk and it's a naturist camp as well as beach. There's a big pine forest all around, which provides much needed shade, and there are plenty of facilities as well: toilets, showers, changing rooms, beach chairs, umbrellas. Beach Garma in Podgora in the Dalmatia region also provides a peaceful retreat for naturists. The beach is actually accessed via a macadam path, which is a few minutes walk from the car park. So nice amenities, nice organization here. And there's one larger beach with a restaurant here, as well as many smaller beaches, which provide a bit more privacy. But there is that main beach where you can use the restaurant and the other facilities in the buff. So Jerolim Island, which is near Hvar, and again, we're here in Croatia, is a peaceful, car-free island, which is famous for its relaxed naturist atmosphere and clear Adriatic waters. And the Croatian nudist beaches are only an option during summer months, though. This is one of the locations where you don't get year-round nice weather, and it would definitely be a little bit too chilly, I would say, in the winter months. Although if you're a polar bear swimmer, have at it. But the winter temperatures do fall below freezing occasionally, so in many cases, it's a case of, sorry, clothed for winter. All right, number 9, Italy. Italians have always enjoyed the benefits of an all-over tan, but nude beaches didn't actually become legal until 2006, if you can believe it. However, Italy does have a very strong naturist community, all looked after by the Federazione Naturista Italiana. So this is the local naturist community. And as well as advising on the best nudist beaches, the Federation takes time to organize a range of nudist activities for its members, including naked horse riding, volleyball, hiking, and much more. Specific beaches are now set aside for naturists who like the advantage of the warm seas and the hot summer weather here. And Italy's most famous nudist beach is Bassona Beach in the Emilia-Romagna region. I love putting a little Italian flair when I speak Italian. It is over 1 kilometer long, and it has a long history as a nudist beach. Unlike some of Italy's beaches, no admission fee is required here. And this is notable because as affordable as some of Italy's more remote corners might be, their beaches still charge an arm and a leg for the right to even access the beach. And then if you want shares or any other services provided, the fees go up from there. So it can easily cost a couple €100 to go to the beach for a day, depending on how many lounge chairs you want. But this one requires no fee. There's also Capocotta Beach, which is close to Rome. This is an established naturist beach set in a nature reserve that became popular in the 1980s. Capocotta offers free admission as well, and a large range of facilities, which isn't always the case at these free beaches. Costa dei Barbari is about 10 kilometers from Trieste. It's a quiet, rocky point with clean, clear seas. And most naturists stay within the concreted areas, but you can find much quieter areas further on for that reason. So if you venture a little bit further, you can definitely find some more privacy if you don't want to be in the thick of things on the concrete. The beach has few facilities, though, this one in particular, apart from a nearby restaurant. So definitely bring with you whatever you need. And if you go to the restaurant and you're feeling a little bit funny or punny, order a dressed salad. All right, number 10, Mexico. Mexico has countless beautiful beaches, but only one that is recognized as officially nude-friendly. This is Zipolite on the Pacific coast in Oaxaca. Zipolite has a very bohemian atmosphere. This is a place of yoga retreats, beach cafes, and small boutique hotels which line the sand. And the community here embraces a very relaxed and free-spirited lifestyle, which includes naturism. So the town even hosts the annual Nudist Festival, which attracts visitors from around the world. And despite the easygoing vibe here, the same basic etiquette rules apply. When you leave the beach, you should no longer be in the buff. You might get in trouble if you are. Also, be aware that the waves here can be really strong. Zipolite's nickname is sometimes translated as the beach of the dead. So swim with caution and follow lifeguard guidance. All right, number 11. This is our bonus country. You may not have even heard of this country, let alone have known that it had beaches, let alone that those beaches were some of the best naturist communities in the world. This is Slovenia, one of my absolute favorite countries. I love spending time here. Slovenia has a few dedicated nudist beaches. It's got just under 50 kilometers of coastline, but what it does have is stunning. So again, there are a few dedicated naturist nudist beaches here, as well as a naturist campsite. And thermal wellness centers are really popular here. And this is another place where nudism is generally allowed. Some would even say encouraged. Slovenia's naturist culture blends peaceful relaxation with a touch of adventure. So you might hike to a secluded cove or relax in a spa town where clothes are optional. And this, might not necessarily know where exactly clothes are optional. That's why it's kind of accepted everywhere. But again, with a little bit of respect and modesty, if the situation requires it. So this combination here in Slovenia of this Mediterranean-like coastline along with the thermal wellness tradition, which has deep roots in the country here, is very unique. I only know of a couple other places in the world that provide this. And if you're a naturist looking for things to do, Slovenia is definitely a country to check out. This is where you can, again, take advantage of these kind of crazy activities that you might not expect people to do naked, like nude horseback riding, nude hiking, nude biking for all I know. But if you are looking for some adventure in your nudist lifestyle and not just a little bit of relaxation, then look at Slovenia. Strunjan has some pristine beaches, including one nudist beach, which is aptly named Moon Bay. I'll leave it to you to come up with your own joke there. Be sure to bring everything you need here when you go because facilities at these beaches are pretty minimal and definitely seasonal. This is like Croatia, a place where there's no year-round nudist culture. This is definitely limited to the summer months. So pack lights, relax more, and embrace your inner beach bum. Happy trails.